Okay, so first here is the 2014 3ds Max, and I have installed 3.0 for Max, which is I guess one of the builds that's actually gonna be released. And the first thing that you'll notice is that we have this new toolbar that is V-Ray toolbar. Also, there are some other changes to the user interface. So I'm going to start with them first so you get to know the actual interface, and then I will switch to some of the coolest feature that I have gathered so I can show you. Okay, so first here you can see that the actual interface has been a little bit changed. We have revamped the actual order of the features. Also, you can find, let me show you, there are these buttons where they can show you basic, advanced, and expert mode. So if you are new to V-Ray or you just don't want to get too much technical, you can just stay to basic. Or if you are feeling more comfortable with the settings and you know your way around in V-Ray, you can always just switch to more advanced outlook. Uh, these buttons can be found all over the interface, so if I switch here, it will show me the necessary options that are actually there by default, but they're just hidden when this is to some other mode other than expert. One other thing that is very cool is that if I want to switch all over the place into certain mode, I can just switch all to basics, all to advanced, or all to expert. So for example, I can switch everything to expert, and from now on I have my full-blown version of V-Ray settings. Now bear in mind that if you have any questions, just type them in the chat session, or if you don't want to interrupt, you can just save them, save a draft, and you can ask later. We'll have like 15, 20, or whatever minutes after the actual presentation for Q&A. So don't worry, whatever it's necessary to explain you, I will do so after the presentation, or again, if you feel it's necessary to be answered now, just go ahead and ask me. Okay, so regarding the settings here, you can see that first of all, their order has been switched, but of course you can tweak the order by your own preferences. But again, there are some other changes also that can be found. These are here. First of all, we have added our own button for rendering, and one is for the production render, the other one is for the RT. We also added a button for the V-Ray frame buffer, so you no longer need to assign necessarily a shortcut, or right click in the viewport. You can also click settings from here, and we have added the V-Ray quick settings, which are presets for rendering, but I'm going to show that feature in my first scene in a while. The next one is the light lister, which was usually located here, but we have added it also here, so it is convenient for you guys to work with. Here are the V-Ray objects and features that you can find, like cameras, lights, all types of lights. All V-Ray lights are listed here, as well as the cameras. We also have the V-Ray proxy, metaballs, the V-Ray plane, etc., etc. But I'm not gonna spoil it, guys, because I know you love to play with it, and I'm gonna leave it for you guys to explore. Also, there is a big surprise when installing V-Ray. I actually was thinking about installing it in front of you, but didn't know if you would like to see that. I just wanted to keep it like a surprise for you guys, so you can see that we have a new installer with new user interface that is much more user-friendly, and it's much more intuitive. Okay, so I'm gonna open the first scene so I can begin with this presentation. And as I said, it's regarding the quick settings of V-Ray 3.0. So here I have that house, and again I'm gonna click on the new button, the render button, and there we go. Now I begin rendering with global illumination, meaning irradiance map and light cache. So usually to when I want to tweak a scene in previous versions, I had to go to settings and play with the image sampler or the GI depending on what I want, and that's not that it was too difficult to do, but sometimes users lost their way into all the settings that were there. So what we did, okay, let me just wait and finish. But what we did, we created that new quick settings, V-Ray quick settings, you can see, which is actually a very convenient way to tweak your scenes. For example, we have these presets: exterior, interior, VFX, and studio setup, where I can, for example, click exterior, and you can see that it alters my main settings along with some other settings which are hidden here because we want to focus only on the important stuff. And not only that, but I have also some kind of control. So this is, for example, GI quality, brute force, which I can easily switch to something else, let's say irradiance map and light cache. And again, click render. I also have a render button here. And you can see I'm rendering with my new settings. So for example, if I find that preset not very convenient to my needs, I can always alter the settings. So let's say the quality should be lowered, the anti-aliasing quality, and also my shading quality, so I can get a faster render results. And you can see it's already calculating faster the GI, and now the actual rendering will be much faster. So again, this is a very convenient way to work with. This can be like open all the time, and you can just switch back and forth between presets and settings here. The coolest thing is that at any point I can just click here and it will open me the original settings, and if I change this option here, I can see what it actually is doing. So it's not something like it's doing and I cannot see in the actual settings. So for example, if I lower that a lot, it shows me where I'm actually here in these settings, the original ones. Okay, so I can, for example, switch to interior or VFX, which is without GI by default. And you can see now I'm rendering without GI. But of course, I can turn that on, let's say to this preset here, and lower the anti-aliasing quality. And as you can see, it's very easy to find some kind of settings that it will suit your actual render and your actual scene. Once you're done and you're happy with how it renders, you can always just save a preset of your own and have it at your disposal here from that list, so you can use it and reuse it at some later stage. Okay, so my next scene is actually one of the highlights in our V-Ray development. So I'm very excited and happy to show you. For that reason, I have opened exactly the same scene in our older version, V-Ray 2.4. And what I'll do is actually I'm gonna render it first in V-Ray 2.4. So this is Max 2013 V-Ray 2.4, and I just want to show you guys the speed improvements that we have made, and I'm gonna explain you why they are so obvious, and how you can even improve further the your rendering without actually altering your scenes. So this is a typical scene, architectural one, or maybe part of a animation scene that you can find very common. We have a lots of blurry reflections. We have sun and sky here. We have lots of proxies loaded. So you can see it rendered in 39 seconds. So I'm going to switch back to 2014. That's V-Ray 3. Oops, that's the wrong camera. And you can already see that he's actually handling the rendering quite fast. And I'm not sure if you noticed in the previous scene, but you can see that the buckets are shrinking as the actual rendering is ending. So this is 28 seconds compared to 39 seconds, I believe. Let me check that. Yep, 39 seconds. And I calculated that that's like 40% of improvement, speed improvement. Now there are several things that you can consider about these improvements. The first thing is that we have implemented the Embry, the Intel the Intel technology that's been in the i7 CPUs that can be found there, and that gives you a speed bump. Also, the dynamic splitting of the buckets is also helping for the actual improvement. And of course, the most important one is the fact that the brute force global illumination is being greatly enhanced in V-Ray 3. So this is actually using brute force only as a secondary engine. I'm having like 40% in speed improvement. Now, yesterday I made some testing, some test renders, and this is V-Ray 2.4, and with brute force, it took 3 minutes and 27 seconds. And you can see it is production quality, it's noiseless, and it took 3 minutes 27.7 seconds to render. Now let's see what happened with V-Ray 3. 1 minute 41 seconds brute force. And when I enable the Embry on, you can see that even the speed improvement is greater. So you can see, without actually altering your scene, just take an older scene and render it with the new version, and you'll have that speed improvement out of the box. Bear in mind that as long as you're rendering with brute force, or simply using brute force as one of your engines, primary or secondary, it will give you again speed improvement. The more complex scene you get, the more speed improvement you'll have. So this is a one of the coolest things that you can find, because you just open the old scene, you just hit render, and of course check the use Embry option also, because it's going to give you even greater speed bump, and you have that at your disposal to use. Okay, so the next scene that actually I'm going to show you is also related to speed improvements. Okay, so I have a question. What's the downside to turning on Embry? I don't know any downsides. Usually it's there is a button to on and off, because some CPUs might not have it, and that's why. But otherwise there are no downsides, because it's actually taking advantage of something that's being integrated into the CPUs, and it's just using it. And so if you don't have it, you just have to check if your CPUs have that Embry inside your CPU. I guess it will just ignore it if your CPU doesn't support it and you enable it. I guess it will just ignore the fact, and that's it. Okay, so now that robot I'm gonna render, and okay, so this is kind of typical scene where you might for VFX or maybe some kind of weird product design where you will find a scene like that, and you can see that the rendering is quite fast. You can see I have enabled using Brie, and I'm using brute force, so I'm using all the available speed improvements that we have made. But there is one even greater speed improvement that I'm going to show you in a moment. And first of all, I would like to open the environment and effects, and I'm going to enable the environment fog. Okay, so you can see that it's even slower because of the environment fog, where the GI has to be calculated along with the actual environment fog, with all the scattering, and if you want to produce some kind of volumetric lighting. And it's not that it's slow, but what if we want to render it even faster? Well, let me show you regarding that. What we have done is we have created a new image sampler called progressive. So if I just switch to progressive instead of adaptive and hit render, now again my GI is going to be calculated in a much faster rate because of the speed improvements that I just showed you in the previous scene. But just watch when it comes to the actual rendering. So there we go. Now my image is rendered, and the cool thing of the progressive is that it will just keep refining my result, refining and refining until I hit the stop button. So as long as I keep it open, it will just refine and refine. So let's say you are doing some testing and some playing with your scene, and it's late and you have to leave. You just render with the progressive, and by the morning you'll have a perfect quality image without actually playing with any settings. And you can see that the longer I wait for it, the better the image it gets. The noise is just getting out of my way. Now remember that I know it looks like RT, but it's not actually V-Ray RT. It's a fully production render. It supports everything that the other image samplers support. I can have render elements assigned to. Okay, so actually they're not enabled now, but if I enable the render elements, I'll have all my render elements. Okay, let me just okay. So okay, let me continue with the settings. So first of all, you'll find minimum shading rate, which actually assigns more samples either to the actual camera samples or to the samples that are responsible for the glossy reflections and the let's say depth of fields and the shadows. No, it's actually not saving the image by itself unless you have the history enabled, and we have added that new checkbox autosave. So if autosave is on and I hit stop, it will save automatically, but otherwise I can define the process of stopping here. So for example, I can put some kind of time limit, let's say half a minute. So after half a minute it will just stop refining the result, or I can plug a noise threshold to be responsible for the noise quality in the actual refinement of the image. So you can just assign the passes here. So I can assign here in the V-Ray frame buffer, and once it stops, it will save the image automatically with all the render passes. Yep, as an EXR also. I have EXR here. Okay, so the next one. Yes, stopping the render. If you're in the frame buffer, okay, let me open again. If you have assigned here it will automatically save the image. Otherwise, you'll have to go and save the image yourself from the frame buffer. Okay. Again, regarding improvements, first let me start rendering. So here in that scene, we have lots of lights. I mean, when I say a lot, I mean a lot, guys. You can see that I haven't counted them, but actually these are a lot of lights. And usually, if your scene actually demands that, there is nothing you can do, and the renders will just slow down enormously, because for each sample that's been taken for a certain area in the image, it has to take into an account all the lights in the scene, so it can calculate correctly the diffuse color along with the reflections, etc., etc. And that goes along with the blurry reflections, and you know, things can get really slow when you're dealing with such scenario. But sometimes that's just the way it goes, and there is nothing you can do. Okay, so you just saw in action the progressive, how it just stopped after a certain point. So it had 0.75 of a minute, and it just stopped by itself, you can see. And even the lens effects that we have added have been applied automatically. Okay, so to continue on the topic, and if that's too slow for us, and actually it is too slow in most of the time, and we want to speed up that process, what we have added actually is the probabilistic lights. So you saw that with so many lights, that render took like less than a minute to calculate. That's because I have enabled the probabilistic lights, and the number here, the 4. Okay, let me go further. So what this feature does actually, it takes that number that you have assigned here, and for each given point in the scene, for each sampling point that you make, it will take only 4 lights to calculate. The rest will be ignored. So it will make some smart assumptions regarding distance, intensity, size, and color transition, and it will take only the 4 most important lights that are affecting this certain area. The rest will be ignored. So with that speed bump, you can actually render such an image in less than a minute. Yes, there is some kind of noise here, but I can easily get rid of it. So if I turn that off, and let's see what happens. Now you can see already that the light cache, only the light cache is taking a lot of time to calculate, and I'm not sure if it will have a good image when the actual threshold, the time limit of the image sampler hits 0.75 of a minute. So you can see that it still hasn't calculated the actual light cache, still building it. And it's already it's gonna reach like a minute only for the light cache, but it took less than a minute to render the entire image with probabilistic lights enabled. And you can see the radiance map also is much slower. So again, this feature is aimed at optimizing and improving your workflow, your rendering, and it just takes ages sometimes when you have so many light sources to actually calculate. So this is the first pass of the image sampler, of the progressive image sampler, and you can see that the quality is terrible compared to the previous one for the time given. So I'm gonna stop it, and Okay, let's have a look. A minute and 35 seconds, and it's nowhere near the quality of the previous render where I showed you it was with just enabling probabilistic lights. And I can assign how many lights I want my desired sampling points in the scene to be calculated with. Well, it is taking these smart assumptions. Also, I think it's considering that the animation will need some consistency along, so I believe it's gonna make some smart transitions between the lights. So if I'm moving a camera, I believe it will move the probabilistic lighting along with the camera, and it's gonna blend the actual intensity. I don't think there will be any flickers because, as I said, it's gonna blend the results between different frames. So it's gonna consider that there is actually an animation in the scene. Okay. So this one again is aimed at not only speeding up the rendering, but also at fixing some things that most of you guys, I think, have experienced in your work, daily work. So just a sec to render the image so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is an exterior that we are lighting with an actual dome light,